Imagine a country where money doesn't exist, religion is banned, cities are abandoned, and people are forced into fields to build paradise from dirt. But instead of utopia, they created a nightmare. Cambodia, 1975. The Khmer Rouge takes power, and with it begins the world's most dangerous political experiment. It was called Year Zero, a complete reset of human society. But behind the slogans and silence lay starvation, torture, and mass graves. So, how did it happen? And how close are we to repeating it? Let's begin. The country had been torn apart by civil war, and into that chaos stepped a man named Pol Pot, a teacher, an idealist, a radical. He dreamed of a pure Cambodia, untainted by Western influence, modern cities, or wealth. Cities were corrupt, intellectuals were dangerous, religion, poison. His solution? Start over, from scratch. No schools, no markets, no families, just rice fields and obedience. It sounds unthinkable, but the worst was yet to come. April 17th, 1975. Phnom Penh, the capital, falls. People cheer. The war is over, they think. But hours later, soldiers appear, guns raised, voices sharp. Leave now. Take nothing. Go to the countryside. Within days, 2 million people are forced to walk. Doctors, children, the sick, all herded like animals. No destination, no food, no mercy. Why? Because Pol Pot believed that only peasants were pure. And so, the cities were emptied, like ghosts. Life in the fields was not life at all. People worked 12 to 16 hours a day, ate watery rice once, maybe twice, slept in huts, guarded by teenage soldiers. They weren't allowed to speak freely, or cry, or pray. Even the word mother was banned. Everyone was just comrade. Your past, erased, your future, owned by the state, and your death, well, it was always just one whisper away. Trust was outlawed. Spying was rewarded. Children were told, report your parents if they speak ill of the revolution. A joke could cost your life. A compliment could be a trap. Even glasses meant you were an intellectual, and intellectuals were enemies, and enemies didn't live long. The Khmer Rouge had a saying, to keep you is no benefit, to destroy you is no loss. Fear became the new national language. The regime began purging its own people, monks, teachers, artists, anyone who questioned, doubted, hesitated, executed. Not with bullets, those were too expensive. Instead, victims were beaten, hacked, and buried alive. Across Cambodia, more than 20,000 mass graves have been uncovered. And in just 4 years, nearly 2 million people died. That's 1 in every 4 Cambodians. Gone. In Phnom Penh, a school was turned into a torture prison. Its name? S-21. 17,000 entered. Only 12 walked out alive. They were chained, electrocuted, beaten until they confessed to crimes they never committed. Then, they were sent to die. The man in charge? A math teacher named Douche. The lesson he taught was pain. By 1979, Vietnam had seen enough. Their army invaded. The Khmer Rouge collapsed. Pol Pot fled into the jungle, unpunished, and unbelievably, his regime kept Cambodia's UN seat for years. Why? Because Cold War politics made monsters useful. The world looked away, and justice came too late. What happened in Cambodia wasn't just a communist failure. It was an ideological obsession, a belief that society could be made perfect if only enough people were erased. When we value ideology over life, when we demand purity over empathy, when we silence those who disagree, we walk the same road toward horror. You might think, I'd resist, I'd fight back, but most didn't. Not because they agreed, because they were exhausted, alone, terrified. Control isn't just about violence, it's about isolation. It's about rewriting truth until people forget what's real. And in Cambodia, truth was executed. We live in a time of rising extremes, of political fury, of echo chambers. But history is not a stranger. It's a mirror. Cambodia's Year Zero teaches us what happens when leaders stop listening, when people stop questioning, when freedom becomes a threat. We cannot afford to forget this, ever. So ask yourself, what would you believe if disagreeing meant death? What would you stay silent about, just to survive? The world's most dangerous experiment wasn't a science lab. It was a country. It was real. And it nearly destroyed a people. Remember their story, learn from their pain, and never ever let history repeat itself. Like, share, subscribe.